stream. 14 days and counting. And today we're going to be talking about a community versus a cult. We have 14 days to choose whether you chose country and community, or 14 days where you choose dictatorship and a cult. Here's the side that I'm choosing. I'm choosing country and I'm choosing community over cult and dictatorship.
All right. A cult often emphasizes control over exclusivity. A community promotes support, inclusion, and individual choices. Cults can have a detrimental impact on their members, whereas the community tends to foster growth and connection. So, um, people that basically in a cult end up having to do what?
They would do things that they would never normally do if they had a free thinking mind.
And the leadership in the cult centers around basically one
With
person.
one person, which is the leader of the cult. And if you challenge that leader, they will isolate you, kick you out, they will threaten your family members,
Yeah. And you
and,
have
thre-
to,
and, thre- and threaten you, they will threaten your family members and the people that you love.
and you have to be loyal and
And
obedient.
you have to be loyal and obedience. That's what cult leaders do. Loyalty and obedience.
Cult's control is manipulative, including isolation from outside influences and strict rules. When you're in a cult, it ends up that they try to get you away from your friends, your family. You don't have any connections. And everything they do is more like a brainwashing process.
Yes, brainwashing process, hypnosis.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about hypnosis from the book,
From the book, the predecessor, The Code of Trump.
The Cult of Trump by Steve Hassan.
Yeah, by Steve Hassan.
Okay.
Read that book, by the way.
Yeah. Because
And if you're not able to read through a physical book, get it through Audible and things like that.
if you're hearing a lot of repetition and music or
That's cult.
you might be in a cult. The beliefs of a cult may promote beliefs that are extreme or deviant from mainstream society, often claiming exclusive access to the truth, their truth, not your truth. There's only one truth in a cult, and that's the person that you have to be obedient to.
Yeah, that's the obedient truth. That no independent information is even allowed.
Can you really think that somebody can make decisions for you, your life, if you was in a crisis of cancer, or is that cult member going to be making those decisions?
That cult member is going to be making those decisions. You don't have control of your own mind once you join a cult.
And for as the membership, cults can be kind of secretive, with members discouraging them from questioning authority or leaving. So once you get in there, you like just stuck, huh? You can't just walk away.
You just cannot walk away from a cult. You cannot. Whereas as a community, if you have a disagreement with the community or its leadership, you can walk away without any repercussions.
So we've seen a lot of this activity with the Republican Party, right?
We've seen it with the Republican Party. We've seen it with P. Diddy, cults. Yeah, cult-like behavior.
You talked about Reverend Moon.
And we talk about with Reverend Moon, Reverend R.J. Hubbard. And who was R.J. Hubbard? R.J. Hubbard was the founder of Scientology. Lyndon LaRouche, Jim Jones, a lot of cults, yes.
Okay. And like I said, once you get into those cults, it's a problem. And we can't understand why the Republicans, and even though they know what is happening is wrong, they still sticking to what?
They're still sticking to the predecessor, even though that is wrong, even though it's against their moral code themselves. It's the people that know better that makes the cult leader, because the cult leader ain't nothing without the followers.
Okay. And the problem with a lot of the Republicans are coming out themselves from generals that have fought for, gave dedicated years of their lives.
Sometimes 30, 40 years of their lives in the military.
You know. And Macmillan said, I'm not serving no what?
I am not serving no wannabe dictator or dictator.
The purpose often focuses on the leader's vision or agenda rather than the well-being of the members. So it's whatever his agenda is.
Whatever his agenda is, that is law, not your agenda. Whereas community is like a collaborative effort in a democratic process. And when you have your disagreements, we can disagree on the solutions, but we can agree on basic facts. We can disagree on the solutions.
Now, with 14 days and counting, and you're, like I say, down for the count, just to keep this person on message is very hard. And they went off messages several times. One of the things that they did was they stopped in the middle of their program and they started what?
And when you had the one with the predecessor that was talking about the late great golfer Arnold Parnell's junk
It's his penis.
and his penis.
Now, how many presidents you know have got on their platform and talked about their penis, or even compared it to another man's penis?
How about zero, to be exact? How about zero?
And do you really think you want to wake up in the morning to listen to about somebody's penis?
No, I do not.
Okay.
That is the beneath the dignity of the presidency of the United States, because the presidency of the United States also sets examples, it sets the cultural example for the next 4 to 8 years.
So basically, he's not really focusing on the issues. He's focusing on somebody else's penis.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So we're going to go to community. Now, if you got a community, the leadership in the community has is more democratic and shared leadership structure with decisions made collaboratively, meaning that you can make choices.
You can make choices. You can debate the decision, and you can make choice on decision. You can choose to agree with it or disagree with it. Agree to disagree.
The leadership coming up now is basically talking about democratic freedom.
And it's called freedom and values. Yes.
The support that you have in the community encourage communication, support, and mutual respect among members. What do you think about that?
You need that respect among members for a community to thrive. It's about the key word in community is respect.
One of the harshest things that's happening for us mental health is there's a lot of loneliness.
There is a lot of loneliness, and there's a loneliness crisis, especially among young men in the community when their jobs are getting lost and they're starving for a community which is prey to cults, okay, and they're starving for connection.
So if you hear a language of a person saying that you're not being obedient, and that's a strong word for somebody to roll up.
That's a slave term right there, because when I heard the word obedient in a black term, that's a slave right there. If you hear the words, if you're not being obedient, you are a cult. So watch out for these buzzwords, okay? That is one of the buzzwords. Once they use the word obedient, you say, okay, get out of there fast. You got to do the Denzel Washington, get out before midnight, okay? Because nothing good happens after midnight.
And if you're doing a group think, what happens?
If you do a group think, that's another sign of a cult.
Okay. As soon as you voice your opinion and say your ideas, what's the problem? What is the problem?
What is the problem? If it goes against the group and the ideas are against the group and they're saying that you're going against the leader and you can't challenge me, you're in a cult. You're not in a community.
So the beliefs generally embraces diverse beliefs and practices which foster inclusivity or inclusion. You're not over there on the outside looking in. You actually you're part of the group.
You're actually a part of the group. You're not like the enemy from outside, like the outside enemy, like the Mexicans, the blacks, the Jews, the immigrants, us versus them type of philosophy.
What he used the term the enemy within.
But enemy within. What is the enemy within? That means Democrats, anybody that opposes another buzzword that they use, make America great again. What that really means in that term, in black terms, means make America white again. That's what it really means. If you hear it in Hispanic and black terms.
So for the Hispanic community, and sometimes maybe they don't get it because they were upset about the dream,
They were upset about the DREAM Act.
Yeah, and they feel kind of disappointed. And if they hear you out there today, then they, have to bring it to the forefront that if they vote, and we're not telling people how to vote, if they're listening to somebody that's repeating certain words.
That's a brain technique, that's brainwashing technique. They use in brainwashing and cults. They use brainwash like the Reverend Moon, Reverend R.J. Hubbard, Lyndon LaRouche. That's what you're listening to.
What are some of the repetitive words that the predecessor would use?
The predecessor would use the repetitive words that the predecessor would use is built the wall. He would also use another word. It was like, and Mexico's going to pay for it, which they did not pay for it.
Okay.
Make America great again. Only I can fix it.
Yeah,
There's just a lot of repetitive things that he said. Lock her up was another one that he used. That's another cult words they use, repetitive, repeating themselves over and over. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist, would be very proud because if you make an outrageous lie big enough and unbelievable enough, if you repeat the lie over and over and over again, eventually it becomes the truth.
well, it's never the truth.
It's never the truth in the first place.
Yeah,
But if you repeat it over and over again,
it's a program.
it's a programming.
Now, let me bring this to your attention. Now, what would happen to you when the repetitiveness comes? Because everybody don't go down the cult line.
Would not see a unique ability like me. I don't do well among repetition. Okay, that's the first thing. Because if someone were to repeat it over and over and over, I would get really pissed off. And if someone take away my rights and my choices, it's going to be an ugly fight. So that's why I would not do well in any cult whatsoever.
Because you don't learn by repetition.
I don't learn by repetition. I learn by what I hear once and I read it. Once I get it in my mind once, I got it.
Okay. But that might sound like the predecessor. He might say, I got it. But he'd use it in a different format.
He'd use it in a different format.
Your learning style is different, and you're just saying that once you start repeating it over
And over again, it just frustrates the hell out of me.
Okay.
So I would not do good in group thinking, in a cult like thinking. And another thing why I would not do well in a cult is I would challenge them immediately.
Yeah. They don't like to be challenged.
They don't like to be challenged, and they don't like to be asked questions. And I ask a lot of questions, and I do a lot of research. And another thing they hate to do, cult members would hate you to read outside information. They hate you to read. It used to be a time when it was illegal for this dark skin to even read books. It was illegal.
And
now you got even people that are trying to even ban books. Okay.
You have all this access to this free information, and nobody's out there reading.
Nobody's out there reading, and now you're going to have people that's trying to ban books and take away your right to read. There was even a crazy judge in Michigan that even said you don't have a constitutional right to read.
That was off the wall.
That's insane. You don't have let me repeat that again. You do not have a constitutional right to read.
But that's the whole point of a cult. If you get a leader, if you get the leadership in there, and they can dictate their agenda, not your agenda, because you don't have an agenda. You're just in this circle or bubble walking around with this cult leader, and you don't have no
And if
say.
you oppose the cult, and if you oppose them, you're an enemy. And they could go after your family members, they could go after your friends, the people you love. They could go after your tax records financially. It will be a whole bunch of repercussions if you leave the cult or if you oppose the cult. There are a lot of repercussions.
Now, in a community, they welcome participation and allows for individuals' choices. Members are free to leave without repercussion. So, if you're trying to get up out of a cult, what's going to happen?
You're more likely to be threatened. You're more likely to be harassed. Your family and friends are going to come. They're going to come after your family and friends. And if you try to leave a cult, you might be close to dead if it gets really extreme.
And did you hear the general say he had to put up bulletproof windows?
Yeah.
This is a general.
General McMillan, yeah.
And a lot of them, like Mitt Romney, they would probably come out and say something, but they feel like they're going to get threatened for it, right?
Yeah, and then there were even a lot of Republicans, a lot of Republicans that even will vote voted for Kamala Harris because they're afraid, but they will not say it publicly because they're afraid of of the predecessor's voters, which is the cult members.
Okay. So, we come to purpose in the community. In the community, we have aims to enhance the well-being of all members and contribute positively to society. If you got some ideas and you want to share,
You
and you can share your ideas.
you can share your ideas in the community, but in cult you cannot share you're not free to share your ideas in the community. They will shut it down immediately. You have no ideas. Only the leader is ideas is law. Okay.
So what's going on with the Republicans that they don't seem to understand that they're not going to benefit from
They're
any?
not going to benefit from it. They're doing the same thing as when the right wing did in 1930 with Hitler's Germany, when they thought they could control, which you couldn't, or the oligarchs in Russia. Or the oligarchs in Russia with Putin. You cannot control that.
Well, they're finding it out because now here they are 14 days in the counting, and he still ain't on task. You know, you had Nikki Haley out there saying, if we could just get him to stay on task, so if you're begging for him to stay on task, then basically you're saying that if he's the president of the United States, he's not going to be on task.
He's not going to be on task at all, but the one that's going to be on task, that's going to be very dangerous, that's going to be on task, is J.D. Vance. That's the guy that stays on task. Dangerous.
But see, that's where I lost respect for Elon Musk, because Elon got all this money and he could be doing great things for the country. But I just
And a lot of people
it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's kind of like Elon is, maybe I can't say he's the more brilliant one, not at this point, not for the things that he's doing. We've had family members that wanted to buy Teslas and stuff, and I was like, no, you know how you can go out.
And Elon Musk was not the one that founded Tesla, okay? Let me get this straight. Elon Musk pushed out the two engineers that actually founded Tesla. And the one that was with PayPal, Peter Thiel, that was another creepy billionaire. Elon Musk was so bad, he was a pain in the ass, even for Peter Thiel, he was pushed out of PayPal, okay?
So think of it this way. So if Elon pushed these people out, what you think he gonna do to the predecessor?
He's going to push the predecessor out. He's threatening union members to even unionize at his headquarters at Tesla, okay, and SpaceX.
Wow.
Even firing people just for even speaking of unions. So that's cult mentality as well. He has a cultish behavior.
Thank you, Jimmy.
And the richest cult leader, Elon Musk.
And here's the richest people in the world. You think that they would have common sense, but he hasn't showed any common sense. He showed cult mentality up there on stage, jumping around,
Jumping around, and he's even buying, and it even gets better than this. If you sign his petition, guess what? How much money you will get if you sign his petition? $1 million just for signing his petition to defend the Constitution.
No.
$1 million.
That's gonna be election.
That's election interference right there.
They can investigate that, But I just lost so much respect for a lot of people in different communities, because one thing a narcissist will bring out, he will bring out your friends, your enemies, and it will show you. It will tear you apart. It has torn this nation apart.
It not only has torn the nation apart, it has torn friendships and relationships apart because of the cult-like behavior. Just like a Reverend Moon, the J.R. Hubbards, the Jim Jones. Yeah, it wrecks families. It wrecks communities. And what's getting worse is you're seeing job losses, which is a predator for cults, okay?
So the bottom line is, you got somebody that's worried about another man's penis. This is really far out.
And a dead man's penis. That was even worse. A dead man's penis. That's what's even more insulting about this.
And the daughter comes out and says that, her
Honor Pollard would be applauded by the lack of character of this man.
Okay, but can you see what they can be talking about in the Situation Room if the predecessor was our president?
There wouldn't even be, if the predecessor, there would have been the last president if that would have happened.
Man, I mean, the language. And I think all of this was to bring the actual seat of the presidency down so low. But with Kamala Harris out there and Liz Cheney and number 44 and Clinton, you're seeing all this, that they have formed a community. They're reaching out beyond like independent, Republicans, Democrats, they're building a community, a coalition
They're
to,
building a coalition to stop this madness and this nightmare.
and
That's what that is community building, and that's what we want. We want to live in a community, a country, and a community. This, if the predecessor win, we would live under a cult and a dictatorship. That's the choice that we have, and I know the side that I'm on, Ms. Ballard's on, and that is the side of country and the side of community.
all right. So we about covered it, and like I say, we're 14 days and counting. Um, this is the world that we're fighting for. We're fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for country first over putting a person first, a dictatorship.
Or dictatorship or cult behavior, like with the followers right there. We're fighting against that. We're fighting against the R.A. Hubbards, the Lyndon LaRouche, and things like that. It's just even more expanded, even worse. With technology nowadays, it's just expanded even worse with mind control and things like that.
Although, when I said about the fight, it's like we're fighting to remain human or humane, because that's what we haven't had. Kamala Harris came on with joyfulness. Now it's going to have to be, I'm going for the juggler brain, because we're down for the count, and we got to put on our boxing gloves because they put on their boxing gloves. We can be dignified and going in. We don't have to be cutthroat. But in the meantime, this is our lives, and our lives depend on voting. So everyone, get out there and vote. Vote with common sense. Vote when you make that decision.
When you make that voting decision, remember asking yourself, do you want to live in a place that choose country and community, or dictatorship and cult? That's what you need to really ask yourself in. Because it's just not just affecting just the United States. It is affecting the world too.
All right.
It is affecting the world. So there will be no escape. If we make the wrong decision, there will be no escape from this for the next 50 to 100 years. And for people of color, the next 300 years, if we're not careful.
So you don't want to get up in the morning and hearing this person say, I'm going to be a dick instead of a dictator on day one. So whatever, we've covered community and cult, and we will be back 14 days and counting. We will be counting it down, and we're taking our platform, and we're taking it there. We're coming there saying that, hey, we want you all to live.
We want you all to we want you to not only survive and live, but to thrive and prosper. What we need to be also too, we need to move beyond the survival and living into living and thriving. That's what we need to be doing.
And we can't be doing any past reports. That's our biggest struggle. That's our biggest that's a big handicap, because people want to live in the past. They don't want to move forward. They don't want to be forgiving. They always want to bring up, well, this happened. Yeah, a lot of things have happened on both sides of the chart. But when you get to the point that your talking points are about threatening people, threatening and saying that we're the enemy within, then there's a big problem with that.
And that's more than a problem, because that rhetoric can lead to your murder years down the line. It can lead to concentration camp. That is concentration camp rhetoric. That is the oven rhetoric right there. That's what we're seeing.
So on that note.
On that note, think about this. Think about, do you want to live in a country and community, or cult or dictatorship? Think about it before you vote. When you watch this, think about it.
Okay, down for the count, 14 days and counting. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.